y'all, I'm Hope here at Crafty Hope, and welcome to my crazy crafty desk. I've been doing all the things lately, so I don't know how much of it is actually in the screen, but what I want to direct your attention to is this little board book. It is a fabulous little thing with all kinds of inspiring and encouraging words in there. Y'all know I've been a lot into that lately, and actually this is the project that inspired me to look up those encouraging words I included in the video I'll put up there. Oh my goodness, my cat and my dog are fighting over here behind me. Guys. Shh. Okay, so this board book, let's say the major components of it are included over in a graphics video. I will put a link to that down below and encourage you to go check out the Graphics Arts channel along with their website. So, but let me show you this. I'm going to, in this video, I'm going to show you some of the more persnickety details of this I did not share in that other video, such as like how I painted some of the things, altering this cover, watercoloring some of the things I did. So for the version that's the more technical things, like how I put it together and some of the pocket creations and things like that, definitely go watch that video. This is more like about like some of the little artsy touches I did here. So enjoy, and yeah, thanks for coming by.
To start this process, I laser cut some of the graphics chipboard, both the black and the natural, just a variety of them, into these little 2.5-inch squares. Two of the natural ones, actually two of the black ones too. I made these with little windows in them to do my front cover, because they're going to be sandwiched together over some of the computer graphics. So that's what the little window there is for. But I also grabbed some of my favorite colors of acrylic paints to alter these. So I'm going to start with the natural ones. You can see I've just got the ones that are the front cover, but I'll pull in the other two natural ones I pulled out. I don't remember. We'll see in a second. And I'm using, this is some Payne's Gray acrylic paint. I am keeping my paintbrush fairly watery because this Payne's Gray does get kind of shiny if it's not watered down. So, and I prefer it not to be shiny. But that's, yeah, if there's a little shine, it's fine, because I am going to add some gold also. That's definitely shiny. So as you can see, being very imprecise with the application of it, just kind of playing. I want to see what happens. I knew this was going to be more about the little pockets and quotes and all that I added, but it was a lot of fun to just alter these in different ways. And I'm working mostly with, you see this large flat brush, making different marks. And the other, let's see, these other 4 pages are going to be double-sided because, yeah, the front cover, like I said, is going to be sandwiched. So their insides, their back sides won't be seen, but I'm going to have the opportunity to alter a bunch of these. So the black is kind of fun because I can use like very opaque colors or whatever. I definitely couldn't have used that acrylics, that Payne's Gray acrylic paint on there, but yeah. So once I got it all those front sides painted, or one side painted, I decided to come in with a little more of the gold and add up some water to a fan brush and splatter everything, especially where the Payne's Gray was on those natural ones. So you can see I'm getting a little crazy with all of it. Then I'll dry it again and then flip over the ones that need to be flipped over. Like I said, the cover one does not need to be, because, yeah, you'll get it. You get it. It's a sandwich. So from there, I was like, okay, I'm going to do some collage. I'm going to add some papers to some of these. So I'm just using my Oohoo glue stick and a dictionary page, and you can see rubbing that right directly onto the chipboard. And then I'm going to tear what I can off. I think, I got it kind of crooked. So yeah, I'm going to tear this off just ever so slightly and then cut one of the edges. And then I'm going to do the same thing on another one of the pieces. So like I said, definitely head over to the graphics to see. You'll see, we're going to get to a point here where I've added some things and done some things. And you won't be seeing some of that because it's more it's more of the detail, but I wanted to, the parts that I skipped for the graphics video, I wanted that somewhere so both I could remember what I did, and so y'all could have a place to see both like parts of that. But I really enjoy working with these graphics chipboards, and you'll see in a little bit I'll give you a glimpse of the computer graphics I printed out, and y'all, that was super fun. So to be able to take a bunch of different designs and put them on like a transparency that I created, so be able to print that out. So I also had this sheet of I don't even know what the paper is, but I had done some mark making on it with a sponge, I think, and some watered down acrylic paint, and it was super fun. So I've altered the back of 3 of those. I've got 2 more, and because it's the black there, I am going to use my favorite Americana Sea Glass acrylic paint and make some marks on it. And so this one, you can see I've switched to a smaller flat brush and just gonna make some splooshy marks on it. And then the other one is gonna be like some long dashes, I think, is what I'm doing. Very imprecise, very much keeping in mind that I'm just going to be adding, not just going to be, this board book is not about these marks, but I wanted to have the things that made me happy on it. So, yeah, so now that all that is down, I decided, okay, let's add some collage to some of these pieces. So I'm pulling in that same that same dictionary paper to start tearing down some of the pages. I'm covered in paint at this point, and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. But so I'm tearing down little pieces and just going to stick them on to some of my already painted bits, covering up some of the chipboard that's on them. So, and I really do love that with the Payne's gray and the gold splatter. Look how yummy that is. And I will also focus over on to, I believe, my cover as well. So I'm kind of moving things around, trying to decide what I was gonna do. I was really struggling with, do I want this all to be so much the same? But y'all, none of these pages are going to be the same. All of it was going to be fairly organic and playful. And like I said, this is one of those things that I just kind of want to keep on my desk. And the whole idea of having the pockets, I explain over in the graphics video also, is that if I get tired or if I find that the quotes that I've put in here aren't inspiring me anymore or feeling a little stale, I can create another little tag or whatever to slip in the belly bands and the pockets I've created in this. Of course, I won't be able to change the front cover as much. That's an idea, though, to find a way to do that. Oh, that's what I'm gonna have to do, is leave a little pocket in the front to slip in. Ooh, that's a neat idea for another time. Okay. I'm getting off track here. But yeah, I think that's a really good idea to have done. But in any case, I put down some collage. I do love dictionary paper. I think part of it has to do with, it's just a conglomeration of words, but also the thinness of dictionary paper is so much fun to collage. So once all that was down, I decided to go and focus on my front cover, and as you can see, I'm adding more of that favorite sea glass acrylic paint and doing kind of a watery wash over some of it, trying to cover up like the edges of the dictionary paper and any of that chipboard that is still kind of showing. So moving that around, and granted, I could have made this any size, but I really like the idea of just a little book. I think some of my favorite like actual board books, like kids board books, are these tiny ones that you find, because I did one for the 100-day project, I believe, that was so much fun, and it was about this size, maybe a little bit bigger, and that's kind of what I was thinking when I decided to create this board book, was just a little thing that didn't have to be overwhelming, just good for my soul. And the whole process of making this and picking out sentiments that spoke to me and incorporating them in here was just filled my heart. So, now this is some quadacridone nickel azo gold. I do love this. It is hard. I don't believe I say this every time I use it. I don't know that you can find it anymore, but you can find azo gold, which I believe is a very similar color. But I dripped that down the front. I do love it because, as I say every time, it looks like rust to me. It looks like something is gotten all rusty, so I do love it. So I got some marks on there, all of that, and then I'm going to add a bit more gold splatter because, you know, you can't go wrong with a little bit of gold splatter on something, and then dry it once again. So now we're into those are the graphics, the computer graphics printable I did. I am showing you that I'm going to cut out this rainbow, but I'm going to show you real quick and kind of explain to you how I made this rainbow. The rest of those are things I either typed up or had scanned or printed up, or used the images from somehow. But to make that rainbow, I actually watercolored it. So I used some watercolor paper and watercolors and created this rainbow. I made sure I used plenty of water so that the colors would blend. And then I took it to my scanner and scanned it into my computer and imported that into Photoshop. In Photoshop, I cut it out and placed it I made the background transparent and placed it into the file that I ended up printing out for onto the computer graphics. So that's what I think I really liked about the computer graphics is I could use so many different things to create a single page. And I think I did that all in Photoshop actually. And then saved it as a JPEG and printed it out from there. So it's yeah, it was great because like I said, I had other images, other materials I had scanned, but this I was able to like create something myself and then personalize it by putting it on this computer graphics. So there's that finished image. Like I said, I'm going to cut it out here and just use that square, and that's what I scanned. I could have fussy cut it and then scanned it, and then I wouldn't have had to make the background transparent, but it worked either way. So there you can see where I've cut out that computer graphics rainbow that I made. And I decided, since I'm putting it on this dictionary paper, to kind of whitewash it. So that's just some Waverly chalk paint that with a bunch of water that cover, you can still see the dictionary paper there, but it's muted. And then of course more gold splatter because I can't help myself. It was sitting there on my desk. Why let it go to waste? I just used and used it and used it. So of course I dried that. I did create a pocket using that, and look how that you can still see everything through that computer graphics. It's so much fun. So I did create the pocket for that. You'll see that over on the graphics video. Here's one of the pages with the acrylic paints and the dictionary paper collage. And I decided that I needed a little more texture on here, so I'm using, I believe that's Rustic Wilderness and one of my handcraft stamps, and I just needed some green for some reason. I can't even remember what page that was on, and I am stamping it right onto it, and it was great because these Distress Oxides are more opaque, and so they go really nicely over the top of that Payne's Gray. Oh, I know what page that is. I've got a dandelion there that I pulled in from somewhere online. And I wanted to create a little tag with it. So I'm using a piece of some heavyweight cardstock along with, I've got this circle stencil thing. I think it's some kind of drafting tool or something. And I'm going to cut out that circle. I think I actually ended up cutting one a little bit larger. So you're seeing, here is the circle I ended up cutting out, and I inked the edges. So that is actually going to go on a belly band that's made from one of the strips of like a ledger page that you can see over there on the computer graphics. So that's how that's going to go in. And you'll see I'm just cutting out what I need from this. And so later on, I still have all of these things on the computer graphics. And I had so much fun playing with the different ways to put these in there. Now here's another page that again just has the Payne's Gray and some splatter, and I decided to cover up more of that chipboard with some more paint. And this is just some yellow ochre craft paint, and I thought I was going to do some mark making with you can see the end of my of one of my paintbrushes, but because the splatter is also kind of dotted on there, it just wasn't really working for me, so I'm going to go another way and start smearing it around. You'll see here in just a second that I kind of put yeah, and that felt so much better than making all those really precise dots on there. So yeah, and that, I don't know, there's something about a yellow ochre that just makes me happy. So I got that smeared on there, and what do I do after that? I think I kept this page fairly simple, I thought. I could be wrong. Yeah, okay, so you can see here I did bring in another one of the like ledger page type things on this one. And then this is, I believe, the back page, and all I did with those smushy aqua colored marks was to go around it with a gold paint pen, and it was perfect to finish up the back of this journal. So that's not, yeah, it's the last page. And that's the computer graphics sentiment that I ended up gluing down. So here are all of the pages that I am putting into this journal. I'm going to have a ton of pictures at the end of this video for you to see them all. I'm actually going to let you see some of the binding, just a snippet of here in a minute of the binding process. I used some of the Grafix double tack mounting tape to create fabric strips and did some tab binding to bind this journal together. But you can see how fun. I really like the tab binding method because you can create individual pages like this, and as long as you have an even number of pages, this method works. So there's me putting down one of my little double tack mounting tape fabric strips, and I'm gonna bind it. So I'm flipping over these strips to create the binding for this. So I had a lot of fun. If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. Here's a better place than over on the graphics because I will get a notification here on mine. But make sure you're following the Grafix Arts YouTube so that you can see all the other things you can do with these fun materials. So I really enjoyed playing with them and just kind of seeing what the opportunities were. So what would you, if you had some of this computer graphics, what are you going to print on it? I kind of went crazy with a little bit of everything. So, all right, guys, I appreciate you coming by and watching this and seeing a little more in depth about how I created this little board book. And like I said, if you've got any questions at all, just let me know. I'd be happy to answer them for you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.